Have you ever wondered how the United States, a young nation in the late 18th century, became an industrial powerhouse in just a few decades? Let's rewind back to the late 1700s. Picture a fledgling United States, fresh from the throes of revolution and largely agrarian in nature. Fields of cotton, tobacco, and grain stretched as far as the eye could see, and the majority of the populace engaged in farming. The concept of large-scale manufacturing was still quite alien to this nascent nation. Now, across the Atlantic, a different story was unfolding. England, the cradle of the Industrial Revolution, was a hotbed of technological advancements. Steam-powered engines were transforming the face of manufacturing, and textile mills were springing up like mushrooms after a spring rain. The power loom, a remarkable invention, allowed for the production of textiles on a scale previously unimaginable. The disparity between these two nations, one a beacon of industry, the other still steeped in agrarian simplicity, was stark and undeniable. The United States, however, was not content to remain in the shadow of its former colonial ruler. It recognized the potential of these advancements and yearned to replicate them on its own soil. But how could this young nation, with its minimal manufacturing capabilities, hope to catch up with the industrial behemoth that was England? Well, as the saying goes, necessity is the mother of invention, or in this case, the mother of replication. You see, the United States had a secret weapon up its sleeve, a strategy not quite legal yet incredibly effective. Rather than reinventing the wheel, the United States decided to borrow it from England. This borrowing wasn't a polite request and a gracious handover, though. In fact, it was a bold and daring act of what we now call intellectual piracy. The United States, in a bid to catch up with England's industrial prowess, resorted to smuggling technology and knowledge from across the pond. Let us introduce some of the key players in this audacious game. Francis Cabot Lowell, a Boston merchant and businessman, was one of them. As the War of 1812 was raging on, he toured English textile mills, gaining insights and knowledge about their latest technology. Lowell set sail from Great Britain in possession of the enemy's most precious commercial secret. He carried with him pirated plans for Edmund Cartwright's power loom, which had made Great Britain the world's leading industrial power. Halfway across the Atlantic, a British frigate intercepted Lowell's ship. Although the British double-searched his luggage and detained him for days, Lowell knew they would never find any evidence of espionage, for he had hidden the plans in the one place they would never find them: inside his photographic mind. Unable to find any sign of espionage, the British allowed Lowell to return to Boston. Lowell, using his sharp memory and keen eye, managed to replicate the designs of Cartwright's power loom back in America. His actions led to a significant boost in the American textile industry and helped propel the Industrial Revolution in the United States. Then there was Thomas Atwood Digges, an American diplomat turned spy. Digges was responsible for smuggling not only plans and models, but also skilled artisans and workers from England. In order to protect its economic supremacy, the British government banned the export of textile machinery and the immigration of workers who operated them. Digges' actions were instrumental in replicating English manufacturing techniques in America. But perhaps the most significant figure in this narrative was Samuel Slater. Known as the father of American manufacturers, Slater was an Englishman who emigrated to America. Once there, he established the country's first water-powered textile mill, drawing upon his knowledge of English manufacturing techniques. Despite being dubbed Slater the Traitor by the British, he became a celebrated figure in his adopted home. These men, through their daring and resourceful actions, played pivotal roles in the American Industrial Revolution. They smuggled blueprints, replicated machines, and even imported skilled workers. Their actions were not without controversy and criticism, of course. The British were understandably upset, labeling these men as traitors and thieves. But on the other side of the Atlantic, perspective differed. These men were not seen as villains. They were hailed as heroes. Their actions were not only condoned, but actively encouraged by the American government. While England cried foul and dubbed them traitors, these men were hailed as heroes in the United States. Their efforts led to a surge in America's manufacturing base, propelling the country into becoming a leading industrial power. While intellectual piracy might not sound like a noble endeavor, its impact on the U.S. was undeniably transformative. In the late 18th and early 19th centuries, the United States was a fledgling nation, rich in resources but lagging in technological advancements. Intellectual piracy played a pivotal role in closing this gap. As the country absorbed and replicated the manufacturing secrets of Europe, particularly those of Britain, it experienced a surge in manufacturing capabilities. Under the Patent Act of 1793, the United States granted dubious patents to Americans who had pirated technology from other countries. At the same time, it barred foreign inventors from receiving patents. Thus, America became, by national policy and legislative act, the world's premier legal sanctuary for industrial pirates. These bold moves were not without criticism, yet the benefits were tangible. The U.S. began to realize its potential as an industrial powerhouse. The pace of manufacturing growth was like nothing the country had seen before. The landscape began to change, with factories springing up across the nation, churning out goods at an unprecedented rate. A key figure in this transformative period was Samuel Slater, often referred to as the father of American manufactures. Slater, an immigrant from England, brought with him the knowledge and expertise of British manufacturing. He established the country's first water-powered textile mill, a significant milestone in the American Industrial Revolution. The impact of this single mill was far-reaching. It sparked the growth of the textile industry, which became a cornerstone of the American economy. The mill not only produced textiles but also demonstrated the potential of water power in manufacturing. It inspired other entrepreneurs to follow suit, leading to a proliferation of water-powered mills across the country. The story of intellectual piracy in the United States is a testament to the transformative power of knowledge and innovation. It is a story of how a young nation, through a combination of audacity and industry, managed to catch up with the well-established powers of Europe. The United States, once an agrarian nation, had successfully pirated its way to industrial prosperity. Let's take a moment to reflect on the conclusion of our intellectual piracy journey before we delve into its enduring legacy. As we trace the footsteps of the American textile industry from its infancy, we see a nation transformed. A nation that, once dependent on agrarian pursuits, became a beacon of industrial prowess. This metamorphosis was not a natural progression but a calculated move. A move that involved, dare we say, a bit of borrowing and tweaking. A visual representation of this growth is truly awe-inspiring. Picture a timeline, if you will. On one end, we see the humble beginnings, the first water-powered textile mill, a symbol of hope and potential. As we move along this timeline, we see the proliferation of mills across the country, each a testament to the power of borrowed knowledge and innovation. And finally, we arrive at the present day, where the fruits of this daring endeavor are visible in every corner of the United States. Our closing shot is a modern textile factory, a symbol of the legacy of the Industrial Revolution, a legacy that was built on the audacious act of intellectual piracy. As we transition into the next segment, let us remember that the legacy of intellectual piracy is not just about the past. It is a story that continues to shape the future of the United States. The success of intellectual piracy set a precedent that would shape the future of American industry. In the late 18th and early 19th centuries, the U.S. government did not just turn a blind eye to intellectual piracy, it actively encouraged it. The goal? To bolster the country's nascent manufacturing base. This sly strategy was more than just a short-term game. It laid the foundation for America's future industrial growth and innovation. By borrowing technology and intellectual property from Europe, the United States was able to jumpstart its own industrial revolution. And the rest, as they say, is history. But here is where it gets interesting. Today, the United States is a staunch defender of intellectual property rights. It is kind of ironic, isn't it? The very nation that once championed intellectual piracy now stands at the forefront of protecting intellectual property. So the next time you marvel at the United States industrial might, remember, it all started with a bit of borrowed knowledge.
Thank you for watching. Hope you found this video informative and entertaining. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment. We do like to know and hear your feedback. And if you have the means, please consider supporting us on Patreon, where you can get early access to our videos, and where we post bonus material. Till next time, this is Geeky Tidbits saying cheers and have a good day.